And then north of Shechem was Samaria. The capital was moved to Samaria at one point in time. So the reason Samaritans are called Samaritans is after the capital Samaria, which was north of Shechem. Down here is Bethlehem. You say, why are all these towns in a row here? Because this is a spine of hills. They're all along the top of the hill spine. They're a defensive arrangement of these places. That's why they're all lined up like this. So Bethlehem here, and then down here is Hebron, David's city. So originally Judea was here, and Israel was here. When David took Jerusalem, he united the two. And they stayed together until Solomon, and then they broke apart after the death of Solomon into northern and southern. The southerners kept Jerusalem as their capital. So Jerusalem became the center of the focus of the Davidic monarchy ever after, and that's why it stays that way in the Gospels. That clear? Okay, so now we go down to 700s. The north, it disappears, evaporates, and so on. In the 580s or so, a series of Babylonian incursions ends up finally with the destruction of the temple. What temple is that? The first temple, Solomonic temple. So how long did it go? Oh, from about 1000 to 585. 400 some odd years, I guess. Then there's an interregnum. 540, the first returnees come back. How come the first returnees start coming back? It's in the book of Isaiah. How many have read the book of Isaiah? Scholars divide Isaiah up into how many parts? 3 parts usually, but the two main parts. What are the 2 main parts?
First and second Isaiah.
Well, the first part is a big...
Pre-exilic and then post-exilic.
It's a big conglomeration of stuff for about 30 chapters, 35 chapters, and then there's some historical material in there, which is overlaps material in the book of Kings. If you look at Isaiah very carefully, there's prophetical material which relates to the 700 BC period. Then suddenly there's historical material which has to do with Isaiah having arguments with King Hezekiah or somebody. You can look at myself, I think it's chapter 36 to 40. And then suddenly new material comes, the material we all love, the material you always hear in the Hallelujah chorus. You know, comfort ye, my people. I could even sing the Hallelujah chorus to you with all that biblical material that Handel put into it. He took all that out of Isaiah and made it something that we all are greatly beloved and care about. The problem is, for the Handel's Hallelujah chorus, the way we, who are, again, under authority, we are under authority mostly, even if we think we aren't. What we've heard is under authority, because we've heard the authoritative view. What we hear in comfort ye my people is the reinterpretation of that material after the Christian episode. That is, after the Gospels begin to pick up Isaiah material and make a straight way in the wilderness, attributing it to John the Baptist. Remember I told you that's also in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but it's not interpreted the same way as in the Gospels. Make a straight way in the wilderness in the Dead Sea Scrolls is make a straight way for the study of Torah. And that's not going to blow anyone's mind or make anyone go tomorrow to jump into the River Jordan and await the rapture. You know, it's pretty prosaic, but it's still it's still an interpretation of Isaiah 43. The point Isaiah 43 seems to be making is, comfort ye, my people, your time of trial is done, make straight way in the wilderness, wrap up the hills, for a path for the people to return from the captivity. That seems to be what Isaiah is saying in chapter 40, within the context of those historical events there. But that's reinterpreted to mean the coming of Jesus 500 years later. It's reinterpreted in the way we all are familiar with it in the music that we hear and so on. And you say, well, that's what it meant. No, we don't know that. You have to decide that. You have to look at the material yourself and make the determination if that's what Isaiah really originally meant, or if that's a reinterpretation of the passage along with what later people thought it should or could or might or ought to have meant, or what they wanted it to mean, or how they used it. Even the scroll material doesn't mean that's what it meant. Follow me? So again, all this has to do with getting familiar with the sources. So you can't even make an evaluation, make a straight way in the wilderness and so on. Does that mean the coming of Jesus as it's presented in the gospel? So is that an historical passage? Is that the way John used that material? Again, once again, all this depends on your enlarging your background. So what happens? You say, well, look, how am I going to do this work if I don't have this background? Well, anything I mention that you don't know, you should go maybe and read. You don't have to have me to beat you over the head with a whip. If you don't know Isaiah, and you don't know the difference between chapter 40 in Isaiah and chapter 36, what should you do? Go and read it. That's how you get smart. And not depend on other people's views. So you don't want to depend on my view, or your dad's view, or your mom, or your church, or your friend, or whoever, your minister, your rabbi, whatever. You want to depend on your own view. So you hear something you've not done, go do it, and then make your own view. And that makes you a bigger person for your children too. Because when you get older and you know all this stuff, then your children will look up to you as very knowledgeable. And then you will have prestige in their eyes because you've done all this work yourself. You just don't, spout stuff that you've heard someone else about. So I would recommend anything I say that you've not heard of and you've not done and you don't know about, go read it. That's not any other assignment in this test, but you're not obliged to. It's a free choice that you make, okay, in order to widen your source. Otherwise, you're dependent on me or the other people you've heard about. So you either want to be dependent on me or some other person that you have confidence in, or you want to depend on yourself. So, first step, go read Isaiah. Anyway, Isaiah 40 is a new voice, and it goes to 66. And it's in the, instead of in the 700s, it's in the 500s. 200 years have elapsed. Now, the fundamentalists, you say, well, what's the fundamentalist think? Oh, well, the fundamentalist thinks that's the miracle of Isaiah, that he can predict things 200 years before, and that's all from the later period. But what do scholars say? Scholars say, no. Someone tacked new material onto Isaiah who wanted to get the prestige of Isaiah and wanted it to be read under the name of Isaiah. So what does the new material in Isaiah say? The new material is the most beautiful material, but what most people miss is that what it is proclaiming, it may not be Jesus Christ, the Messiah. It may be, and you'll have to decide that for yourself. What it certainly is talking about is the return of the Jewish people from captivity in Babylon.